Thank you. Yes. All right, friends, let's roll up our sleeves. We're going to dive right in. If you have something to write with, I'm going to invite you to turn to page 19 in your workbooks. You'll see two beautiful headshots there of our two panelists for today, Marissa Levin and Tom Johnston. I'm going to invite our team to bring them up on stage with me as I introduce the two of them. Hi, Marissa. Good to see you. All right. All right. Hi, Tom. There you are.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey. All right. So let me do you both justice here. I'm going to read your bios. Tom, welcome. Tom is the Chief Talent Optimizer for Talent Optimizer Group, where he empowers organizations to hire and retain top talent to build and scale high performance culture. He's a certified Exchange guide. Congratulations. And he's been a part of Exchange now for the past 2 years. So good to have you, Tom.
Great
Looks
to
like
be.
you're soaking it in.
Yeah, I'm like, well, 2 years. I think it might be a little bit longer. But anyway, yeah, I've been
Perhaps
around a
longer.
while.
Yes. And Marissa Levin is a 5-time 30-year entrepreneur who is recognized as one of the top 200 biggest voices of leadership globally for 2023. Wow. She is a speaker, best-selling author, leadership and culture expert. And Marissa, you're about to celebrate your first year with Exchange. Welcome.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you. All right, so I've got a handful of questions for our panelists. Just a heads up, as John kind of flashed some of these case studies for you earlier, you all are going to receive a copy of their case studies in the end of day recap. If you didn't know we were doing a recap, we are. So it's a fun little bonus surprise. But Tom, I'm going to start with you. I have a couple of questions as a way just to get to know you and the work that you're doing. Having been a part of Exchange for a while now, where have you applied the Exchange approach? Maybe specific clients, communities, environments?
Yeah, sure. So I've applied Exchange everywhere, is what I would say, is in my talent optimization consulting work, and whether it's in one-on-one executive coaching, experiential keynotes, town hall events, co-facilitator guide of the Global Compassionate Leadership Summit, vision design summits. I recently facilitated a panel discussion at a fitness technology summit, applied the Exchange approach to that conversation, and primarily with clients that I serve in the Halo sector, which is the health, active lifestyle, and outdoors sector.
Beautiful. And we have a case study that you're going to be kind of debriefing for us here. So in a moment, I'm going to bring it up and I'll invite you to help walk us through specifically how you applied maybe our questions and choreographies for this client and any practical learnings that this revealed around how you facilitated or designed the agenda.
Sure,
Here's your slide.
sure. So I think, so most recently, you bringing that up, it's really with my client, which is Club 16 Trevor Linden Fitness featuring She's Fit, which is a health club chain in Vancouver, BC. They've got 17 locations and growing. And we held an in-person team summit for about 50 persons, which included the co-founders, the executive leadership, senior leaders, general managers at the club level, the folks that are running the clubs every day, and those fitness managers. But before I get to what we actually did in the team summit, I think it's important to maybe just give a little bit of context around. I think number one is I met this client through the facilitation of a CEO summit where I applied the Exchange approach and actually co-facilitated with Natalie, who's been a great partner in this work for me. And I facilitated that experience, the CEO summit, and won this client, which has become a sizable client for me. And so recently, the context around what we did was in April of 23, we facilitated an employee experience survey. And since that survey, we had held two town hall experiences, which were virtual, applying the Exchange approach, where we shared the findings of the survey, but we also committed, as the ownership committed to taking the actions that they needed to take. And during those town hall experiences, we were also really able to create meaningful connections with the entire organization. So we would have 250 to 300 persons on those virtual town halls. So our goal at the team summit, this was an in-person event, was to really help to create an environment where the co-founders had an opportunity to really share their stories. And one of the co-founders is Trevor Linden, who is an ex professional hockey player, president of he was the president of the NHL Players Association. And what he had the opportunity to do was really to share his vision and his story, as we like to say, is how he went from skates to weights. And so how he's really created his own new path to becoming a leader and running and having his name on these very, very successful clubs. So our theme was really about leadership. And, Trevor just did a phenomenal job. As I was interviewing Trevor, that's actually how we opened up the session, was me interviewing the two co-founders and them sharing their stories with the team. And so then from Trevor's conversation around leadership, we invited the question in, and we invited the 50 people who were in the room, and many of these are young emerging leaders. And we really invited them into asking the question around, why does being a leader at Club 16, why does that matter? And why does it matter to you and those that you serve? And I would just say that, that particular connection was extremely meaningful, because they got to express not only what it meant to them, but also what it meant to all those people that we serve, and how they're having an impact on the health and well-being of British Columbia, which is really what the vision of the organization, and that's what it's all about. Then we did another connection exercise, which is really about connecting to the core values of the organization, where the managing partner got up and he shared, really reviewed, if you will, and brought meaning to the core values. And then we had another connection exercise there. And again, what this did was really not only to foster the conversation, but at the end, what we know happened is that it really helped those young emerging leaders to really connect with the brand at a very, very deep level. And so, we were driving towards our goal was to create this best in class, and defining what it meant for Club 16 to be best in class, and how we created member experiences that would result in best in class service, where we're doing something better than anyone else who may be doing the same thing. So, the outcome of that was the team members were really able to then create what best in class meant for them. And we then took that information and started to really have that evolve into the Club 16 way of creating what is best in class. Yeah, I think that the end result, and I'll say some of the bigger picture for me with the work that I'm doing with this organization, we've talked about case studies. Like we've had a case study recently written about our work together, and how through all of the work that we've done, we've saved over $2 million in employee turnover costs, because we've increased employee engagement, and we've ultimately driven the EBITDA of this organization, increasing it by 12% year over year. So very, very powerful and meaningful work. So I don't know, Stephanie, is there anything else you want me to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just going to highlight a couple of things for everyone. So as we were learning earlier, inside of those 3 stages, your ability inside, once again, a 1-day, kind of a full day agenda, moving from, what I'm going to call insight, right, into, iPad decided to stop working here, but moving essentially from your insight segments, from having interviews, to allowing, with that question of a purpose question, which you guys will remember, why does being a leader, they're now able to digest that information and make it their own, right? So moving, again, insight to an active learning cycle with these questions is really powerful. Anything else you want to share briefly, just on any key practical insights that supported you in actually designing and facilitating this?
Yeah, I would just say this is that, it's really, I think I've gained enough trust, and I've become a trusted advisor to the co-founders and the CEO, and that happens over time. And so, having applied the exchange approach throughout other events that I've facilitated, design summits with smaller groups, what I've done is I've really built a trust of the ownership, and I've brought them into the process and showed them, hey, here's how we're going to design this event. They're involved in really co-creating the questions that we're going to ask. and understanding how we're, maybe, guiding the conversation. And I always say, look, I have no idea what's actually going to happen here. And I will say that, I was I listened to the last segment there. John pointed out that, I had a moment at one of these design summits that I had facilitated previously, where it got to a moment where I was like, oh, this is going a different direction than I expected it to go. And I could see where that the group there was a lot of tension in the room, and I was able to pivot. And through that pivot, it was a game changer in that I actually, was able to pull the CEO aside and say, hey, look, here's what I see happening, and here's what we're going to do. And I handed the pen off to someone, and one of the other leaders, and off they went. And it ended up really resulting in a great outcome that I wasn't necessarily fully expecting, and that wasn't really part of the agenda. But that resulted that I had the ability to do that in that moment, right? Create that experience, because I've learned through exchange to plan tight and hang loose. And the amount of time, effort, and energy that I put into creating these events and before the facilitation, there's a lot of work that goes into the preparation, but every minute of that time is, results in, I believe, in just having a much better experience and outcome, which has then given me the confidence that through the exchange approach, I'm comfortable getting in front of any audience that I wouldn't have been not nearly as comfortable as I am today had it not been going through the exchange and learning from John on how to really go about facilitating events using the exchange approach.
I think there's a true beauty in what you're even saying, Tom. It's your ability to even trust into the approach. So I can only imagine there's maybe a fear, a hesitation, as John has called out many times when you're going into a group, bringing this approach for the first time. And even when it goes sideways, your ability to lean in, to be aware of that, to do the inner work for yourself, to hold that space as a facilitator, and then to continue to move through and adapt where needed. I love that. Definitely is a motto inside of exchange, the plan tight, hang loose. I appreciate that you brought that to this group as well. Tom, thank you for your insights. Co-creating, planning tight, hang loose, and trusting the process. Marissa, I'm going to bring you back up, my love, and would invite you to also share, as a way for everyone here to get to know you. Where have you used the exchange approach? Let us know any specific clients, communities, or environments.
Sure. So happy to be here. Thank you for that. So through one of my companies, i5 Conscious Leadership, we have 2 curriculums. We have a 15-module curriculum for emerging leaders and a 15-module curriculum for advanced leaders. And we're currently using that nationwide with government agencies. So I have fully exchangified the whole curriculum. And then the other thing that I was going to talk about for my case study, is that I am on the faculty for a program called Stakeholder Impact Foundation in Atlanta, Georgia, and we teach executives how to serve on boards, all about board service, how to find those positions, what it is to be on a board. It's based on my book, Built to Scale, which is the best-selling book on how to build advisory boards. And so I've exchangified my curriculum for that cohort.
Brilliant. Well, let's dive in. Let's invite you to share. I have your case study I'm going to bring up here.
Sure.
Walk us through, maybe give us a little context of this particular event. I see, 20 people in person, a 3-hour, and any practical key learnings around the questions, the designing, and the facilitating.
Sure. So I kick off this cohort. It's a 12-month cohort, and I'm the one who kicks it off. So before I show up, no one has met anybody. So I know that I have the added opportunity to be able to create the connections that will then carry the cohort forward. So I'm very focused on enrollment, which we've had so many conversations about, Stephanie, that enrollment is very important prior to the event, during the event, and after the event. So what's not on here is what I do prior, and that is through a survey that I send out, and I provided you that as part of the resources that we're going to provide. And what that survey does is it creates community before the community even starts. And then by the time I walk into the class, everyone in that program has an emotional connection to me. And I've been able to actually formulate a panel of experts and unlock that collective wisdom in the room through the answers that I've received through the survey. I select 4 participants and I make them the experts and I interview them. So on my curriculum here, you'll see that I always open it up with the purpose question. And what's amazing to me is that these are all executives that have careers of 25, 30, even 40 years of experience running massive organizations, and they're looking to elevate their careers and take it to the next level with board service. And when I open it up with a purpose question, they've never gone through anything like that. It's all new to them. And I explained to them that the reason that this purpose question is so important is not only to ground them where they are, but that they're about to embark on a very challenging journey. And they'll be able to revisit their answers around purpose when it gets really hard. They will be able to remind themselves why they're doing this work. And so I have them answer it for themselves, for their organizations, and for the larger collective globally. And it's really beautiful to hear them share their insights. And you can tell they just have never even had that type of reflection. So once we move through that, then I go into an interview, and the champion of this program, Roosevelt Giles, who is the one who basically is my boss for this cohort, he interviews me so that I'm able to unlock my collective wisdom in a way that is really kind of from a place of humility. I'm put in the fireside chat seat, and we work together on the questions, and that just kind of puts me on the same level as the people who are in the organization, in the group, as opposed to me just standing there and talking about myself. Then I go into a presentation on the advisory board process, but that's a very small part of my program. And then I go into the panel using the Connect choreography. I use high point questions for participants who are in the group to tell me what their stories of advisory board service or advisory board construction have been, what has worked really well. And then I also ask for wisdom stories, and they tell me what hasn't worked very well. And anyone who has any experience with board service knows that there are plenty of questions or plenty of examples or when boards are not functioning well. So the rest of the cohort is able to hear from their peers because there's so much experience in that room. And I never want to be the only voice of experience in the room that I'm in. So then we move into the active learning cycle. And this is where I ask them to really reflect on what they've learned, how that they can apply what they've learned. They bring their voices into the room and they commit to what they're going to be using and what they've learned, how they're going to be able to use it moving forward in their own board experience. And then we close. I always start with a one-word open and a one-word close, and then we close to understand how they feel about the experience that they've gone through.
I'm just going to highlight, Marissa, it's powerful just how many of our choreographies you were able to weave into, again, a 3-hour segment.
Yeah.
What I love is you'll notice this was straight from your workbooks. So a lot of times we think we need to complicate and go, and you can have fun designing questions, but literally just picking up the questions we're using and applying them. And what I love is where you got to play with it, where you customized it, was in what we call thought joggers. So why is it important that you're here today? For yourself, for the organization, the larger collective, and you even brought it globally. So I really appreciate just the expansion inside of that question, right? And what becomes possible. Anything else, Marissa, that you'd like to share? I also have a beautiful photo of your group here together holding up your book, I believe. Yes. So anything else before we transition?
Sure. I just really want to reiterate how important the enrollment is up front. And the power of surveys to really connect with the people that you're going to be learning or that you're going to be teaching. And then I also want to talk about the power of a term that I don't think was actually used in the training, but that we talk a lot about at Exchange, and that is strategic generosity, which has always been that's always been something I've done. This position for me teaching with this cohort is not a paid position, but it's a big return on heartbeat for me to be able to give back to the community, and it's strategic. So out of this last cohort, for example, I got two very well-paying clients. I got two strategic partners who want to facilitate my conscious leadership curriculum. And I got a podcast interview, and I recently spoke to Chief. That was last week. And so these are all things that happened because I'm leading with my heart, right? Mm-hmm. And then I also opened up this cohort. I've brought guests to my cohorts, and one of the guests that I brought in the last cohort is actually the chief marketing officer of $1 billion company, and now they want to bring me in for a whole host of things. So when we are giving back, from the heart, right, there are ways in which we can balance both that generosity with strategic intent to grow our business. And so I wanted to really kind of bring home that point.
I love that. And I hope everyone heard that, as even just to get out there. It doesn't have to be a paid gig from the get-go. Right. It could be just a heart offering as you're iterating, Marissa, and the doors that open as a result of that when you're really speaking to the right groups. That's just brilliant. Thanks, Marissa. Thank Tom, you. I'm going to bring you back up. We're going to do one final question as a way to close our time out together today. So Tom, in a sentence or less, what additional outcomes or impact has the exchange approach made possible for you personally or professionally?
Well, I'm going to just build on what was just talked about around the heart. So what's been made possible is the work that I'm through Exchange. What's been made possible is the work that I'm doing around compassionate leadership on a global level, and facilitating the Global Compassionate Leadership Summit, which is opening up doors to doing work with other organizations on a global basis. So it's really about the ripple effect of how do we bring more compassion and love to the workplace.
Powerful. Thank you, Tom. Marissa, I'll have the same question for you. A sentence
Sure.
or less, what additional outcomes or impact have been made possible for you?
Oh, I mean, Exchange has transformed my life. And I want to mention, I've had 5 companies. I'm building my 4th and 5th company over 30 years. My first company was about a $14 million firm with close to 90 employees. I got a master's in organizational development. And at this age of 57, I feel like I'm at base camp. Like I literally feel like I am at base camp with the Exchange community. It just has elevated everything in my life. The way that I design, the way that I facilitate, the way that I engage. The community here is just so incredibly beautiful. And I feel like I'm in the middle of an unending MBA in transformational facilitation.
I also want to emphasize the growth mindset that you definitely play at with all levels. Marissa, thank you.
Yes, I don't get bored here. And that's saying something.
Tom and Marissa, woo, thank you all. I'm going to give a moment for appreciation and would love to invite everyone to participate in the chat. Anything you want to notice, any insights, wisdom that was shared that you want to highlight as a way to thank Tom and Marissa for their time with us together today, feel free to put that in the chat so that they can appreciate on their way out. From my heart to both of you, thank you guys so much for how you've shown up in our community and how you continue to expand on using this approach in so many beautiful ways.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both. I'm going to turn it back over to John, and you guys are getting a lot of love in the chat, so I hope you take a moment to appreciate. Thank you all for participating with us.